guys, welcome back. This is Jenny from Polly's Paper Studio. Happy July 1st to all of you. We are beginning our holiday inspiration projects with this mini album, and also could double as a holiday planner. You could use it to store your lists and receipts, and you could of course fill it in with all of your favorite family pictures and journaling and keep all those memories for years to come. And we are using stash and previously used collections, so I want to get through those older supplies so I can bring in some new stuff. So let's make this together. I've made this same style of book base in a previous tutorial. I'll link that in the description below, but you'll find that it is very easy to create and very sturdy, and once all the paper layers are added, it is very heavy and chunky and nice. So the measurements I chose for my book today are 4 inches wide by 6.5 inches tall. There are 3 sets of inside pages, so my spine winds up to be 3/4 of an inch. I've already just tied a little twine on here so that I can embellish this when the book is done. And I think it will make sense to cover the back first because that's the easiest one to get to. And even though I'm using some previously gotten into collections or pieces from my stash, I did think about sticking with a style when I pulled the paper. So I'm in the traditional to retro sort of style, and my colors are reds and greens, and then with a little bit of a vintage twist on it. So we'll do the cover last because that makes it too bulky. So for my first inside page, I've got this very nice check pattern, and I want to create a pocket with the white cardstock that matches the book base, just so that it will be consistent throughout. I also picked this green cardstock to work all the way through the book, and that just gives it a more pulled together look. So you see I've got my little wings cut on this cardstock. I'm using 110 pound just because it's nice and sturdy, and adding the flaps around the outside gives you extra room in the pocket if you want to add things like some extra pictures or flat mementos. That would be a great place to do that. You could use this mini very easily as a planner for preparing for the holiday season. Also, you could use it until the holiday is over and then pull the pages out that were your lists for the holiday, and then you could make it into a small mini album. So that would work great for that also. I'm going to add a little bit of extra tape here just to the side flaps, because you do want this to be snug to the book, and I find that this double-sided adhesive is my best choice because it doesn't ooze out like my wet glues do. I try not to make a mess, but sadly I'm just a mess. Here is the first page going in. I'm leaving that same border width all the way through because I think that just looks a little bit nicer. And then I have a smaller section here cut. That's there's too many brands really to mention. I'll try to say it while I'm working along if I think of it. This one I know comes from Authentique, but my main objective was really to pull papers that went together, not necessarily from the same collection. So here's my pocket. It's nice and big. I picked another companion paper for that and just create a little bit of a tag. To get ahead of myself there, I did create a tag to go on this page, and I'm just using a die cut stamped image. Here's another stamped image and a foil scalloped edge circle. I put a small sentiment here at the bottom on a stitched banner, and a couple of holly leaves and glittery circles to be berries. Here's a pretty little clip that will hold it on. and then some twine at the top. And this is just going to be an add-on element so that it dresses up the page a little bit. It doesn't have adhesive on the front, so if you want to move it, you could easily take it off of that clip. So that will be our first inside page. And like I said, you can remove this tag if you choose to put it in a different location. So the next page over is going to have a tip-in. I covered the back of the tip-in with some lined paper because that makes a nice area to add your journaling. I'm just going to attach that right here. And that is the same plaid as the other side. So this set of pages works very nicely together. And here is a journal card to go on top. I know that one comes from Simple Stories. It really made sense to me to get through some of the older collection pieces before I add new ones, because I definitely want to not let any of it go to waste. So here is the other side, and then I'll top it with that journal card. This is a really sweet country charm inspired card, and that will open for space to add journaling on this side. So this has a couple of different interactive bits, and then the tag that you can move. So that's the first two pages. For the second set of pages, I've got another pocket, and I'm just going to change the orientation of that so that it's a landscape rather than a profile. And this will be a nice place to tuck in a tag, and I'm just going to adhere that just like on the first page, and I'm just going to add it here. So this is going to be the left side page. Today in mid-Michigan, it's going to be a high of 91 degrees and about 8,000% humidity. So it is kind of nice to hide out and make Christmas crafty projects. Here's the cover of my pocket, and this is really sweet pattern. Is a single-sided paper from Hobby Lobby, and I do wish I had some extra of that because I would like to put it in my Documenting December Traveler's Notebook, so I guess I have an excuse to go back to Hobby Lobby now. I've picked a small sentiment block, and I do not remember which one that comes from, but if I think of it when I do the links, I'll add that. But I think that is a really good combination of that softer red color with the patterns that are there already. And I've got a couple of die cut branches that will just go here at the bottom, making sure not to overlap into the bendy parts. And then I used my Cinch and Go poinsettia die to create just flat petals, and added a small epoxy topped brad to hold them together, and that's just going to create a nice little flower detail for the corner. For this set of pages, I have that same pattern of authentic paper, and here are some larger journal cards. It can be a little tough to know what to do with these because they're 4x6, but I've kind of added one back to back and added a tip-in mechanism so that I can adhere them in a full page, and that way there will be lots of extra room for your pictures and your journaling. And I just want to add that so that it can be opened easily and used on both sides. Now I can secure this to my book, and that does even add extra pages. So now we've got a pocket page here. I've also added a small tag here which you could put your journaling and your pictures on. Here is a full 4x6 tip-in with a postcard on either side, and I've got a couple smaller matted companion papers. This one was Sweet Peppermint from Frank Garcia. That's 2 years ago. And so that goes here. I've got 2 of them to add, and that's just a cute little place to add pictures. And I'm gonna include another one of those poinsettias that are flat. I've added a chipboard candy piece and a heart. And then I only put adhesive in the center so that you could tuck the pictures behind it and use it as a bit of a tuck spot. So that goes here. And we've got 2 sets of pockets now and 2 tip-ins. Those are different size tip-ins. And we'll move to the last set. I've got another tip-in on the side for this last page. That's some really sweet polka dots on the lighter green. And I'm just going to add it here. And then add this to the book. I think I have an easier time seeing it from the side than trying to get it to line up from the end. Here's a really small strip. Now when I get down to the nitty-gritty of plaids, I cannot let them go. I just have to hang on to them. And like that ticket was only a portion of the image and it was at the edge of the pattern paper, but I think that it still looks cute. If I hide that partial cup image and just have the sentiment. So I've got Kringle's Hot Cocoa, and that will go down here to create a nice border, and it shows just fine even with the tip-in closed. And here's one more journal card. These are all matted again in that same green cardstock and opens to some journaling spot on the back. The last page is that polka dot again, and you see that I have had a little trouble cutting that one straight, so I'm going to make sure to have it at the bottom so that I can hide that ragged edge. I have one more of those plaid strips. I imagine if you had plaid washi tape, that would work really well too. And for this page, I'm using a cut apart, and it's going to act as a tuck spot. So I'm just going to secure it here at the bottom and then include a tag behind it so that will hold that in place. So you can see how nice and full that book got by filling in those pages. So let's work on the cover. Here's the ribbon I'm choosing to tie this book up, and you want to secure it before you begin to add your layers on top. So I have this beautiful plaid, and I know this one comes from Authentique. And this was basically the inspiration for the color scheme. And I think if you had shabby chic in mind, you could certainly go pink and silver. Or if you liked some very vintagey patterns, you could ink all of these edges up with some distress ink and give them some nice age. Okay, so here is the cover. I'm going to add a small companion pattern. And this has just a pretty snowflake. This one is from Graphic 45, and a stripe, which in the end doesn't really show very much, but I just cut it so I feel better for adding it. Now I'm not putting it back in the stash bin. Here is a piece of evergreen tinsel, and I'm going to add that to the bottom. This is a hot glue job because you really want to get that adhesive up into the bristly parts so that you can make sure that it's very secure. You want that glue to get up in those needles, pine needles, branches, I don't know what you call it. It's the heat, I tell ya, it's getting to my brain. Lift those back up when it's all settled in place. Here's my sentiment. I just cut a small mirror frame with a circle die that has a scalloped on the inside. I'm getting attacked by a fly. Oh my goodness, you guys. Christmas crafting in summer is crazy. So that is a sentiment that was on a journal card. I put a reindeer charm here and clip that on with this coordinating clip. I cut a notch in my foam because I want to pop this up, but that would have caused a lump. And so there's foam on the back, and that will build some dimension. I'm only just laying that there temporarily because I want to add the other remaining things to make sure that I have left room for all of my elements. So here is a small strip with a sentiment, and then another one I'm going to layer over top, and I'm going to kind of give this arrangement a trial run to make sure that I have this exactly where I want it. I did create this arrangement off project like I do because I want to make sure that I have room for everything. So you see I want this to be right at the very edge. And that leaves room for all of the words to be visible easily. You could use like a Tombow adhesive for this. That would work great, but I just have this hot glue down here, so I'm gonna use that. And then for my arrangement, this is that poinsettia again, but this time I used my flower shaping tool and gave it the dimension and put in some stamens. These are fossil colored and they're from Really Reasonable Ribbon, as well as that beautiful plaid ribbon. And then these are cherry blossom dies from Cherryland Designs, and I used the two layers of the larger die to create this. I want a flatter flower to layer in and create that shape. I cut a couple of wood veneer snowflakes. Sometimes I paint those with distress paint, but I liked the natural color of it. It gave it a little texture. Here are some gold twine bows and some holly, and that's just going to basically hug that corner, and I'm being careful not to hide the words. And then last but not least, a couple of buttons will finish the cover. These are actual vintage buttons, and I have some twine going through them so that I can attach them with the hot glue. And to finish the spine, I did mention earlier that I wrapped it in that burlap string. I've got a couple snowflakes here, charms, and a nice large poofy bow with more of a twine bow and a vintage button. And I'm just going to add this to the top. And then I can tie my book up and keep all of that inside. So here is our finished mini album using the stash. So many different collections here. I can't mention all of them, but I hope this inspired you to get into your already used collections and your stash and create something wonderful with it for the holidays or any season. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.